Hi guys, my name is Annie Schlanger, and the title of my project is Citizen Science: Transforming Community Members into Environmental Educators. So let's get into it. To start with the background and context, the big picture issue that my study aims to address is that the majority of communities are underinformed on local environmental issues that will impact them directly as climate change worsens. Through my research, I learned a lot about citizen science networks. As a definition there, citizen science um, are programs that fill gaps in data that in many environmental fields by using community volunteers to conduct research and collect data. Citizen science also works to give opportunities for public awareness and environmental education. But how are these two things connected? Well, citizen scientists learn a lot through participating in these networks and have the ability to pass this knowledge to others. So, the aim of my study was to analyze how citizen science transforms community members into environmental educators. To do this, I came up with a research question to guide my work, which was how can citizen science act in a way that not only trains non-scientists as data collectors, but also trains them as public educators? So let's get into a little bit of context of the work that I did with my internship this summer. I interned with the Pacific Northwest Crab Research Group, PCRG, as part of their Dungeness crab light trap monitoring project. Um, so for PCRG, I conducted light trap sampling from April to September, and as my deliverable, I developed a rack card to be distributed to all light trap sites that are a part of the PCRG project. In addition to my duties as an intern, I also conducted my own research. So I interviewed 8 outreach coordinators for local community science organizations to find a little bit more about their approaches to outreach and education within their own networks. And I also surveyed the volunteers at PCRG after the end of our sampling season this summer to understand a little bit more about the effectiveness of the program, their confidence in the subject, and how often they talk to people about crabs before versus after, things like that. So here's a little visual of my deliverable. As you can see here, it's just a quick highlight, a couple important points of our project. It has some logistics, some context. There's a QR code for more information and contact information to get involved further. So this is helpful to us as volunteers because we're able to hand out the rack card and effectively, efficiently kind of get our word and our message out. So yeah, through these internship and methods, I got some results. So, number one result is that hands on experience is extremely beneficial to the effectiveness of learning. It's really a game changer. So, you can see here in figure 2, these are 2 PCRG volunteers putting our light trap back together after a sampling session. At the beginning of the summer, we didn't know anything about how any of this worked. And at the end of the summer, we didn't need supervision. We were acting as site leads, crew leads in the sampling sessions, and we were confident in our ability to do the work of the science. Yeah, so next, it's important to prioritize internal outreach within citizen science networks, and this inherently helps external outreach efforts. So when I'm talking about internal versus external outreach, first, internal is talking about communications with participants and current members of your group, versus external outreach, which is more about public awareness campaigns, volunteer recruitment, things like that. So basically, if networks give their volunteers what they need to be successful, stay committed, and satisfied in the program, they're more likely to be engaged in the work they're doing and bring it to other parts of their lives. If they can learn better themselves, they're more equipped to teach others better too. Next, citizen science's emphasis on place-based issue gets people who wouldn't normally be interested and passionate about learning about their local ecosystems. This is connected to a quote that I liked a lot from one of my interview subjects, Dr. Lisa Watkins. She said that citizen science gets people talking about climate change less politically and more pragmatically. It's easy for climate change discourse to become politically divisive, polarizing, and seemed really abstract. Talking about environmental issues on a local, smaller scale instead is more actionable and it brings communities together instead of apart because nobody wants their own homes to be victim to climate change and be degraded by environmental issues. Basically, it's easier to teach people about difficult topics when it's in the context of their own home environment. This connects to my next point, which is that people become more in tune, observational, and careful with their local home environments when citizen science is involved. Basically, when people pay more attention to their surroundings, they're able to learn a lot more about them. So, from these main takeaways, let's look at some broader implications and think about the next steps we need to take in order to maximize the potential of education within this context. First, we really need to advocate for diverse perspectives in scientific discourse. The great thing about participatory science is that it's made up of people from different cultures, knowledge systems, academic backgrounds, career paths, perspectives in general. So, this type of science really increases accessibility, equity, and collaboration of knowledge types, which is something that isn't typical of other research formats. Next, networks must equip their participants with the tools and the training necessary in order to be able to do their jobs correctly and educate people effectively and efficiently. So, an example of this is my deliverable rack card. This helps PCRG volunteers able to help people who come up to us during a light trap session and are interested and want to know more. It helps us to get our points across easier. Um, Citizen science can learn, citizen scientists can learn and teach others in a more streamlined way, and they have a power to fill gaps in environmental education for the general public. So let's take a look at this graph. This is a response from my survey asking people, how confident do you feel in your knowledge of the larval Dungeness crab light trap monitoring process? So I asked them about their confidence before they started sampling and then their confidence after the season ended. As you can see, most people were not confident at all before participating, and then at the end of the season, most people were confident or extremely confident. So, all in all, this creates a ripple effect when citizen science networks meet the needs of their volunteers and prioritize education. This creates communities of informed and passionate environmental stewards overall. I'd like to take a second to say thank you to Allie, Tim, and my family and my friends for all their help and support through this process. And thank you all for listening.